Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome back to Beyond Your Radio. And this is Keep It Dark, Ice Hockey Drill and Thrill. Instrumental dark post metalism and post rock wonders. Sounds tough, sounds rugged, displaced, but at high speed on a frozen tundra that could be Siberia. Well, in actuality, it's Chicago, Illinois. And the band is Russian Circles, named after a very famous ice hockey drill. And when the whistle blows on this band, the shit's about to get intense. Efficient, powerful, which is the actuality of the stride and speed and overspeed training required and done for this drill created by the Russians. It's also extremely perilous when you're attempting to do these things at a rate of speed beyond your control, hoping that it eventually becomes your control, which the margin for error before blowing an edge and crashing into the boards is minute. If you think about the tilt, and think about the angle of said things, so too is the Chicago post-metal instrumental band, and really one of the still undiscovered countries, for the most part, in the music multiverse that could be considered one of the very best ever in the field. Although they're not the first, they certainly won't be the last. Not only does this band rip and render outstanding records since they started, in 20 years now, I think, but they sold their recordings to the space known as God City Studios, run by a biomedical engineer who might be the finest producer within the specialized field of dark instrumental rock and instrumentalism. The recordings of every one of these records are extremely pristine and a showcase of this trio and the metal rock and even doom they weave. Kurt Ballou, while not a household name to most, should be sought after by some. But that's just the cool fun fact of this part. So now let's dig into the heavy, dark soundscape and creativity that is Russian Circles. You know, what basically started out with an EP self-titled release of a band that had woven its creativity and marks from Chicago, Illinois. No, not really. Basically from a little bit back to St. Louis, in actuality, and the punk scene and all those things. And Mr. Sullivan, the lead guitarist, kind of enveloped over time with his brother. And brother's not in the band or anything of that nature, but it's just growing up in those underground, those underappreciated places where he crafted the love for music, the love for this kind of thing. And then when he got to Chicago, seeing bands that would influence. So What basically started out with an EP self-titled release, Russian Circles, sort of morphed and expanded and did these things. Um, these are the kind of things that I love about bands when they take that cold, calculated musical spaces and they expand them and contract them magnificently within records. And that's what this band has done. Um, there are three members, all having the same shareholder now at this point for many, many years. Now, Brian Cook, who's the bassist, did not start with the band. He came in on the second record. Um, he's an integral part in this and how the bass and his sonic stature becomes attuned to this. Mike Sullivan, who is a very underrated guitar player, who founded the band with the drummer Dave Turnkrantz, he's and them all together have this tortoise, pelican, and caballero influence camaraderie or originality and influence. Chicago, tough winters, industrial, ugly parts, but it's still beautiful, melancholy. And I'm sure that's a bit of the Irish heritage that Sullivan has in some of this, believe it or not. Brian comes in a two-piece bass fill, but he put a sonic stamp on it. He found something and wound up staying, which is really important to this band. Yes, he's in sumac, but he's an integral part of the tone of these records. Aggressive, more than the others maybe. And as always with the instrumental, there's no confines. This is why Russian Circles as a unit, it's a complete unit, contributing and blending, technically savvy now, and it's been growing ever since. So why this kind of music, this instrumentalism, this I don't know what you call it. It's not doomy to this riff. They're not riff heavy. They're groove in their riff, but they're sonic and they're drone and they're loop. Well, this one is a bit more than just the cold and the blast and the sonic and the temperance, the moods that come from melody or dangerously provocative craftsmanship at the helm of bass, guitar, and drum and drones and loops. This goes to the fabric of what is meant to be enjoyed not only by the photographical position of a record that you can hear over and over again. Whether it's flawless or perfect or sprinkled with productional notes. Then you take that and force it out into a live environment. That's dictating how it will be by the room and the space, the way it can fill or succumb to it. It's the entrapment and the engagement of the audience and the space within. The echo of creativity now evolved in a living space rather than a time capsule. There's nothing wrong with that time capsule, my friends. I love those time capsules. But as this band would be extremely difficult to do a catalog review show of and rank them because they are so magnificently different and tightly made and wonderfully sounding and deep. But it's 20 years. But a benchmark for true modern post-metal, post-rock instrumental creators. From just three dudes that love music. They love the process and the heritage of the scene that's never too big and never too small, and the way they use that space, much like the Russian Circles hockey drill. Making that space work to your speed, your agility, and building on it every single time, again and again, crossing over and over, switching sides, gears, angles, and eventually, sometimes in a completely different motion. This is Chicago's Russian Circles, really one of America's greatest post-metal instrumental bands. Their albums, should you choose to get into these a little bit deeper: Enter in 2006, Station in 2008, Geneva in 2009, Empros in 2011, Memorial in 2013, Guidance 2016, Blood Year 2019, and in 2022, Gnosis. They are in studio as of last year, and there probably will be a record coming out. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok now. Albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on. So go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. And thank you for taking this rather dark journey with me. As always, thanks for watching and happy listening.